Okay, we are trying a new thing today. We're trying to go our restreaming going from Facebook onto YouTube. I hope it's working. I hope you're seeing me out there. Not really sure yet how to check that your messages, but hopefully soon it's going to be clearer and I'll be able to see you all. So let's start. I want to talk about something today. Get my balance, get myself here because it's backwards. Good. All right. So, hi, everybody. Those who can see me out in Facebook land and in YouTube land. I want to talk today about one of the greatest deterrents for spiritual life. Okay, what is that? That is called the legs. Oh, I think my wife's coming. Am I on, Elisheva?
There you are.
Okay, good. So what is it? It is called the legs. Legs. Why legs? Legs are called in Hebrew regel. Regel. Now, the way we're structured is not accidental. Our head is on top. Our midsection is here. Our heart's here. The lower part is there. Animals, their head and their heart are equal. Human beings, their head is above, their heart is there, and then their feet are on the bottom. Now, as in everything in the spiritual world, there's a good side and a bad side. So the word in Hebrew for legs is called regel. Regel. And that means the legs, but it also means habits. Okay? And as in everything, there's a good and a bad. What's the good and the bad? There are certain things that we need to build as habits in our thinking, in our functioning. Ask your legs. Because when you see a kid walking, so they're like this, like Frankenstein, and that's difficult, but then they learn and they're able to walk. Imagine if, God forbid, a person had to, every step, think how to go. Okay, when people, God forbid, have accidents, strokes, God forbid, these type of things, then they have to relearn how to walk, and it's very, very difficult. So there's a certain place where the fact that the legs will follow a normal habit, has a good component to it. So much so, we say, Hergo Masateva, that when you do something habitually, it becomes your second nature. So if you are, let's say, a person who's prone to anger, if you practice holding it back and redirecting it in some way, you do it long enough, it'll become second nature to you, it'll become part of your way of functioning. So in that way, habit is good. Okay, in that way, good to see you, Nancy, welcome. In that way, habit is good, that it goes in the normal process. Where's habit bad? Habit's really bad when it comes to a person becoming desensitized from the world around us. And that's where the concept of getting stuck in routine is the antithesis to spiritual living, okay? Because you get used to different things, get used to the process of things, and you become unaffected by it. I mean, imagine if you saw, let's say, the manna coming down from the sky, food coming down from the sky. The first day, wow, it's unbelievable. Imagine it happened every day for 40 years. When would be the point where you would just say, that's just natural, that's just nature? As we've discussed many times, even the word nature, which is teva, has a double meaning. It means in Hebrew, litboa, to drown. It also means, welcome Steve, it also means litboa means to drown, because you could drown in nature. You could be totally unaffected. Okay, this is the way it is. It's just the way things are. And you don't see the grandeur. The word nature also, which is teva, is also in the word matbeya, to be a stamp. And if you look closely, you see that there's godliness in what you call your normal nature, which is the very deep teaching, which is the name of God that is the master of all powers, name Elohim, is the numerical value, the same gematria as the word hateva, nature. Why is that? Because a person could look at nature and say, it's just natural. It's just the way it is. Or they can see something so deep inside, they're seeing godliness, they're seeing eternity in what they call nature. And that's why even, I've said many times, the word Elohim, the name of God that is the master of all powers, is a conjugation of two words. It's flipping on a letter, spell the word mi ele. Who made this? I look at the natural world, I either say, oh, okay, this is just the way it is, or I could say, there's a source behind this. See something deeper. And I want to explain how far this goes. There's an amazing statement. We read it every day in the prayers. It says, good to see you, Vanessa. Welcome. It says, God renews creation at every moment. Every moment, he's renewing creation. Now, what does that mean? Now, I just want to, I want to give us a sense of this because, as you learn things in the world of science today and learn different things, you start to, those who understand the deeper levels of Torah are seeing incredible things. I was learning today from a very ancient mystical text about the five-dimensional reality. And this book's 4,000 years old, and you start to hear, oh, wow, these are things that they're discovering. Einstein understood time was another component of the fourth dimension. That's mentioned in the Sefer Yetzirah, which is over 4,000 years old. So there are many, many deep things that you could science starts to uncover a little bit for us. So in quantum physics, they have a phenomenon that if you look at subatomic particles and you see the world of subatomic particles, what you actually see is it's hard for them to see that there's something really that is hard and existing. They call it maybe what's the term? Wave probability. But what they see is that the idea is that subatomic particles are popping in and out of existence. Furthermore, really, if you actually look on a subatomic level, it says that the center of the atom is like a pearl, and the electrons, whatever we're talking about, is flying around it. Subatomic particles flying around it is like flies going around a giant stadium. What's in the middle? There's nothing there. Okay, it's wave probability, however that works. But that means you should be able to theoretically, according to quantum physics, stick your hand through a table, it should go right through. But it doesn't. But they see it popping in and out of existence. They can't figure out what's going on. What is going on? So this is what we say in the prayers. We say, Machadesh b'chol yom tami ma'aseh bereshis. At every moment, God is recreating reality. It is coming into existence. Okay? Now, I want you to understand this. This is amazing. There's a great teaching by one of the Hasidic masters, Baal Shem Tov. And there's a verse that says, Olam dvarach Hashem nitzah b'shamayim. God, your words always are there. The words of creation always there in the heavens. And what does that mean? What that means is we have a mistake in our brain. When I'm a craftsman, I build something. Okay, I make a table. So I can leave, the table exists. And we think that's the same thing with the world. God created the world exists. God, is doing his own thing, and the world keeps existing. That's completely not true. That's in our world when we're dealing with things that exist, and they exist already, and we're just reforming them in other ways. When God creates something from nothing, ex nihilo, he creates reality. The way it exists is because the words that he used, the combinations of the letters that he created, these words, they're giving life at every single second to every single thing. It's not that God could pull away. If God pulled away his constant flow of this world, it's not that the world would still go. It wouldn't. Now, we don't see it that way because we see everything's very solid, it's very firm, it's there, it's always been there. But quantum physics is already catching up to us. That's not the nature of the world. It is popping in and out of existence because it's God's causing the existence of everything at every single moment. Wow. Let's try to understand this a little deeper. So when we talk about God creating the world, we say he made 10 statements. What does that mean? People don't understand these deep things. What do they really mean? So why does it say God speaks? He doesn't speak. What does that mean? Speech is a anthropomorphism. It's a term that human beings use. But what does speech mean? What's the difference between speech and thinking? So in thinking, I have an idea, but it's not coming to a revealed reality. I may be thinking thoughts in my head, even in words, but at a certain point, even pre-word, it's absorbed into my brain. Into my mind. There's no understanding of it for the other, maybe not for myself, before I put it into actual words. When I put it into words, I understand what I'm thinking. And then when I express it, then you understand what I'm thinking. When it says God made statements, let there be light, the statements he made of creation, is giving the world a place that we can understand it, we can recognize. From the thought, so to speak, comes out a revealed reality where people can actually experience, entities that are created can experience the world. So when Hashem speaks, when God speaks, it means that he's taking the concept, the hidden realm, and making it perceivable for those who receive it. And that's why when you speak in words and letters. And let me explain what that means for a second. When you have, there's different ways of thinking. There's a meditative state, which is pre-verbal. There's no words yet. And very often when you have a thought, you kind of have an idea and you don't really know exactly what you're thinking yet because you haven't put it into words. It might exist in a state that's before being formulated. And as you formulate it, you have more clarity on one hand, and it's also a little more limited. So words become the vessels through which I can now communicate, and I can take the deeper thought and bring it into the world of reality. When God speaks and created the world, he is taking the building and he's making it experiential for us. The words, the letters, the deeper spiritual energies that every combination creates is the different combinations like amino acids in a protein. They're the combination letters that create the reality of every existence. And everything that exists because God is putting life into that thing. Wow. So, we're used to world's here and everything's going fine and everything's regular. But that's not the reality. We're being duped by our senses because we are experiencing these things as existing. They've always existed. They keep existing. We don't see that there's a life force that is causing them to exist. And that is even the words of creation from the beginning, they're still happening. They are the force that is causing us causing these things to exist. And therefore, everything, even the most simple physical thing, has a spiritual component that's life force. When we live in this world, we sort of forget and we get used to things. We don't get woken up. And what I want to give you today is a couple ideas on how we're going to wake ourselves up and not to fall into this trap. Let me just share one other very, very deep idea about this. And this is very, very deep. This is the Baal HaTanya says, this is one of the great Hasidic masters explain this idea. It's very, very deep. He says like this. He says, listen, when I'm in the world here, so if it's the daytime, I see the rays of sun, and I can experience the rays of sun in this reality. Okay. Now, if you go back up to the sun itself, do you see the rays of the sun? No, you don't. because they're lost inside the sun itself. But if the power of the rays of the sun exist here, certainly they exist up there, but you can't experience the rays of the sun in the sun itself because it's nullified into the sun itself. And therefore, he says like this. He says, when I look at a person or a thing, I see the solid thing. I see this thing that's there. But if my eyes could really see, it would be like me seeing its root. The godliness, the power, the light that is enlivening the thing and making it happen is the root of the thing. It's just you're so far away, you see it as a separate entity. And you don't see in its root, it's this statement of God that's causing it to exist. So what do we really have from this teaching of the Tanya? You really have this idea of quantum physics. You have the idea of the creation coming in constantly, and that in its root, it's not even this physical thing that you're experiencing. We are experiencing it as this physical thing, when in its root, that's just a reflection. As many, many layers down, you're seeing the rays of the sun, but if you've understood the rays come from the sun itself, you can't even pick up the rays. You don't see them, they're lost into it. Good to see you. Good to see you riding anyway. So that is the truth of the world. We experience it as physical, as always there and always been there, and we don't see what's really behind it. And this is where the danger of habit comes into place. Because you go outside and you want to look at the sun or the stars or something, but you've seen it a million times. You've seen it a million times. And therefore, the habit loses our sensibilities to see the spirituality in the world and to awaken ourselves. So what do you do? What do we do? So on the same theme, what we have to do is like this. We gotta take a little bit of time every day and think about that. In our essence, we have a divine spark that's connected to God. Think the following thought. Whatever it means, the Kabbalists, the mystics say that God's light fills the whole world completely. Now, we don't understand it because we see differentiations. I'm here, you're there, this is that. We don't understand what it means. But if we can understand in some way that God is with us, Hashem is with us, this light is with us all the time, and that we're connected to that, then we can actually pull out of the doldrums of our habits. And it requires a person to take a little bit of time every day to close their eyes and to say, there's a higher part of me. And that higher part of me is connected to the infinite. And I know my eyes see the physical things as if they're stable and they're this way and they're that way, but there is a life force in everything that is the root of what it is. And when I see that, then I start to wake up from my stupor. I get excited. And that's the first step. First step is a person to meditate on the fact they have this divine aspect that's connected to the infinite, and that God's presence is all throughout. Just close your eyes for a minute and just try to get it. Try to get it for like a minute a day. If we get it for a minute a day, then afterwards you open your eyes and you're going to see the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the trees and the flowers, and you're like, whoa! These things are not things to be just brushed away. This is a sign of seeing God's greatness in the world, seeing the spiritual existence and the physical also, because it's making everything physically exist. But it's not just things that are regular. They're not regular at all. They're cosmic. They're eternal. They're things that the root of it is forever. The root of it is beyond. So this is what I'd like to encourage us all to do. Encourage us to take a few minutes every day and to meditate on that idea. Meditate on the idea that somehow, even though we don't see it, you got to close your eyes for this. Why do you have to close your eyes for this? Because the eyes are very fascinating. The eyes in the mystical teachings, the root of the eye is called wisdom. And you can see that. When I see something, I see the whole picture, and I got it. Seeing, they say, seeing is believing, because it's a clarity of everything at once. But yet your eyes are the things that fool you the most. Right? Instead, your eyes are the things that fool you the most, because if people go after their eyes, they see things they desire, that's what I want. So the eye has a double component. It has the idea of wisdom, of understanding, of true seeing, and sometimes in this world it's misused. And therefore, we need to close our eyes sometimes to see. How do we do that? Take a few minutes every day, close your eyes, and think about that. Think about God's presence is molecular arts photo. He fills the world, fills the earth, even though you don't see it because it's hidden. We have a soul, we have a connection, and we have to wake that up inside of ourselves. And you think about that for a few minutes. And when you do, with your eyes closed, you open your eyes and you try to go and find something you appreciate in the physical world. There was a great rabbi, Victor Miller. But Victor Miller was a great Mussar rabbi. He really explained to people how to fix themselves up. And what he used to do is he used to go and focus on certain small things and just meditate on them. Like he has a whole thing about buttons. Like thinking about how great buttons are. That they close your shirt and they can keep the thing there. Why do you do that? I mean, because you can get stuck in habits and you don't appreciate things. You don't see things. So the exercise to pull ourselves out of hergel, out of the legs, out of the habits where we're just walking and just going without the mind, without being attached to the spirit that fills it, is the two-step process. First, closing our eyes and meditating on the idea that God's presence fills the entire world, and I have a connection to that. And that should give us something to get us excited about. And then when you open your eyes and you see the world, pick something and think about the greatness behind that creation, whatever it is. And God willing, that gives us the sense of waking us up and not to be stuck in a world of dead, boring, physical, limited things, but to be connected to a world that's infinite. Okay, great. All right, guys, good to see you, Kevin Floyd. You know, this is our first time on this new platform. I'm hoping it's working. So I think I could answer some questions. If anyone has a question, you could type, because I do see some people are good to see, Christy. I see some people are on chat, so if you want to send me a question, I hope to be able to respond. Okay. If anyone has a question, if not, then we'll pick it up next time. All right. Great speaking to you all, and have a great night. And let's get that action going. Get out of habit, get woken up to what's called the light inside the vessel. Okay, have a great one. Take care. Bye.